What are protective provisions applicable to preferred classes of shares or ownership of a corporation? Well, generally, preferred shares have rights that are above and beyond or separate from rights applicable to common shares or common shareholders. So protective provisions are specific types of protections afforded to the holder of the preferred shares. Now, the purpose of this is to put the preferred shareholder either in a superior position or to protect their interest against particular actions or transactions by the company. Now, some of the more common types of provisions that you'll see require that the preferred shareholder approve or vote to approve any actions taken by the company or the board of directors. This is separate and above the approval required by common shareholders for specific types of actions taken by the board of directors. Now, so what are some common scenarios where approval or voting approval by the preferred class of shareholder is required? Well, to start with, generally the company will set up some minimum number of preferred shareholders that must vote in order to approve or disapprove a particular action by the board of directors. So if that threshold doesn't vote, that's a minimum or a quorum. So as long as you have a minimum number voting and it makes it whatever threshold, that is majority, supermajority, etc., they'll allow many different types of actions by the board to be subject to approval by a preferred class of shareholder. If it's not approved by that class of shareholder through voting, then the action cannot be taken. So what are some common provisions? Well, modifications of the bylaws. Generally, any modification of the bylaws must be voted on by common shareholders and approved by a majority unless the bylaws establish a higher threshold, like supermajority or unanimous vote. But allowing preferred shareholders as a particular class to vote and their approval be required for modification. Any change in the number of authorized shares, any creation of a new class of shares, any merger with another company or acquisition of another company, the declaration and payment of dividends, any decision to dissolve the company or liquidate, changing the number of board members or the size of the board, selling off or acquiring major assets of the corporation or company, approving or modifying an existing stock option plan, and also there'll be certain times when any actions by the board of directors must be approved either unanimously or the directors specifically elected by a preferred class of shares. So this is another right applicable to certain voting provisions of preferred shareholders, that they can vote for a specific seat on the board themselves, and there'll be board specific approvals that require the director elected by this preferred class of shares to approve an action by the board before it can be taken. So this is another common scenario. But collectively, these are simply examples of protective provisions. The essence behind it is the preferred shareholders' rights are protected through their voting rights by giving them some level of approval authority or voting preference with regard to specific actions taken by the board of the company.